This is tier list. This is a week into the patch. Tier list is being made on the 14th. Patch came out on the 11th. I've played for, I don't know, 25 hours on the patch, something like that. I've played quite a bit of games. We've done some scrims. This is my tier list. There are some things that are pretty obvious outliers on the tier list. There's some things that, I don't know, are less outliers. Pretty much everything in the patch is pretty good, right? This whole tier list is pretty close, right? There'll probably be a lot of things in like A rank, right? The patch is, everything's broken. It's about, there's a few outliers both ways. Everything seems pretty good. So even when I'm putting heroes in A tier, you'll hear a lot of this hero is pretty good, blah, 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 right? Kind of just how the patch has played out so far. Our tiers. There's an S plus tier. There's not usually an S plus tier on my tier lists. This is just the beyond piss broken champs. I think there's only going to be 2 of them. If you know who they are, you probably already do. S tier, this is like top pick, top ban. As long as these 2 champs are gone, this is your top pick, top ban tier. A plus, they're very good champs, a cut above the A tier. The A tier is going to be like average, can pretty much pick them every game, not super matchup dependent. A plus is a step above that. They're the better version of the heroes you could pick every game. B tier, this is going to be like situational or matchup dependent characters. Still good, but just not blind pickable every game. C tier, pretty bad, like champs that aren't great. And then F tier, like unplayable. So starting with Countess, if you guys have been paying attention to the patch, this champ is absolutely insane. For some reason, they thought it was a good idea to give her 8% max HP true damage, plus getting her cooldowns back, plus it... They gave this champ everything. Probably the best offlaner in the game, one of the better junglers in the game. If you don't think this champ is S tier, then I don't know what game you've been playing for the last week. If you want free wins, I think you just lock in Countess offlane every game. She's probably... I haven't played a lot of ranked on the patch. I would imagine she's banned every single game. I do not know how this champ would ever get through P's and B's. She just... Yeah. One of the most broken champs that Pred has ever seen. Crunch. I think he's solid. His damage got buffed. Really hard to 1v1 this champ. If you're clicking empowered Q, then you outdamage everything. Damage is insane if you're using empowered on your Q. His knockup is still pretty good. His dash got shortened, so you don't get out for free every time. Double dash is still pretty much an out, but single dash is pretty short. Not a free getaway. I think he's still fine. Still does a lot of damage. Still bullies tanks. Really, like, tanks are pretty good in the offlane. He's one of the better tank bullies outside of like characters like Countess. But I still think he's solid. Maybe I'll put him in matchup dependent, because I do think you're mostly only playing him into tanks. I don't know. I'll leave him here. I might move him later. Decker seems fine. Same Decker as we've always had. As far as supports go, she's probably A+. Same Decker that we've always had. Just a really solid champ all around, right? Really good buttons. So I don't know why she can't really be lower than this as long as her buttons do what they do. Drongo seems fine. Not a lot of people are playing him. He's harder to play. His rad rounds are a little more situational. It's not always just like rad rounds ult insta-kill somebody. They last a little longer, so if you want them to pop sooner, you kind of have to stop autoing. Through a fight, he does a lot of damage. His silence is harder to use. His ult is harder to use. But I think the champ is still really good. Like, having a carry that has an AoE 1.5 second silence is just, like, really valuable to have that kind of CC on a carry. So, I don't know. I still think he's good. Bang Mao. Dude, this one is hard. This is one of the champs that I think is hard to place in a tier list right now. Because on paper, the changes he got are insane. On paper, they are nuts. In practice, the character is harder to play. I think he still has incredible upside. I think you have to play way greedier than you've ever had to play in the past. You have to play for yourself. You have to bait your team the entire fight. You have to be the last person in. In 1v1s, he's almost unbeatable. Seems like a really good champ still. I think I'll put him A+. Still seems like a really good champ. The assassin items suck, but you kind of are forced to build them. I've tried building in Bruiser. I think it's okay, but only in the offlane. I wouldn't build Bruiser in the jungle. It feels too slow. But seems like still a good champ. Gadget, one of the better mid laners, not broken in my opinion. I don't think this is the way I see Gadget. She is better at what she does. It did not expand the range or the scope of when you are playing Gadget. She is simply better. Her job is the same. She got better at doing it. She stacks. She has permanent AD. She gains a lot of power. Late game, she's really strong. She's really good against tanks. She's really good against teams that you can lock down. I don't think you're blind picking Gadget every game. She's not the same. You can't blind her. There are other mid laners that we'll talk about who you can blind pick every game. It doesn't matter what you play it into. They're really good. I think Gadget is dependent on what the enemy team comp is playing, but she's in the upper tier of mid laners. Gideon, one of the characters that you can blind. Gideon mid, really good. You outbox pretty much every mid laner because you can't miss abilities now. He has crazy range. Enemies can't follow your portal. Honestly, he's borderline like S+. Enemies not being able to follow your portal is insane. It's crazy. You can portal your team out of pit, and the enemy team can't follow you. It's great. It's just insane. His ult is, I think it's significantly better than it was before. You can't just walk out of it anymore. Does a lot of damage. His abilities are really consistent. His range increase makes him extra consistent. The champ seems nuts to me. You can play Gideon support, and I think it's like passable. I think it's okay. I don't know, man. Seems like a really good character to me. Greystone seems bad, dude. I've seen no success from Greystone this patch. Me playing it or others playing it. I've seen no success from Greystone. In the off lane, he feels terrible. In the jungle, he's probably okay. His clear is still really good, but I just don't know why you would ever pick this champ over any of the other champs in the game right now. His ult, I don't know if his ult is bugged, but his ult is terrible. His ult has 200% scaling on it. You can one-shot somebody. It heals me for 12 health, bro. Like, that's the whole point of the champ, and it heals him for nothing. It might be bugged. It's so bad that I want to say that it's bugged. But he has no CC. His rundown is okay. His rundown got a little bit better, but it's just okay. Does okay damage. I just don't know. If he had crowd control, he'd be really good. He just doesn't really have CC. He just has 2 slows, and one of them's on his ult. So, I don't think he's very good. Grux, pretty fucking nuts. The healing that this champ gets is insane. It does not matter if you have anti-heal. Still build anti-heal. Please, for the love of God, build anti-heal against Grux. Doesn't really matter. He still heals for 10 million. His pull is one of the craziest abilities that I've ever seen in this game. It is a cross-map Richter hook that you don't have to aim. You don't have to aim it. It's crazy. Really good champ. Really good at just sustaining. He's not quite the same, like, I'm going to walk at you and 100 to 0 you level 1 because my passive's OP. But his sustain in lane is really good. His 1v1 is still really good. His 2v2 is still really good. His team fight got significantly better, is the main change to Grux. With the change to his pull, his team fight is significantly better. That was always his weakness. Now it is significantly better. Seems really good to me. Howitzer, another one of the cracked mid laners, in my opinion, another blindable mid pick. I would say one step less blindable than Gideon, because you are playing a large hitbox. If they pick easy CC, then your ult will get canceled. But this character has a 110% scaling base ability on a 4-second cooldown, which is fucking nuts. It is nuts. Your ult one-shots people at level 8. 2 items, you start one-shotting people with your ultimate. It's just crazy fucking character. Crazy character. Slightly less safe than a character like Gideon, even slightly less safe than Gadget, I would say, mostly because of the hitbox size. But if you are allowed to stand behind your team and you're like, if your team's going forward into a fight and you're allowed to stand in the back, the character's insane. The character's nuts. Kalari, dude, this is another champ that I just don't think is good. I have not seen anyone do anything with Kalari that makes me think this champ is good. It is truly just a worse version of Feng Mao, because your ult is essentially an execute now, except Feng Mao's resets. I think I'm going to put her in Greystone tier. I just don't know why you would play Kalari over any of the other really good characters in the game. I just don't see it. On paper, her buffs are really good, but in practice, having to lead with Deathmark in every fight means that you're either Deathmarking someone and poking and then waiting 12 seconds for Deathmark cooldown on the same person and then going in, or you're forced to 100 to 0 somebody, which she can do, but it just puts you in a really awkward spot. I just don't know. She's a little too linear. I think she's easy to outplay. Her E is a good ability, but it's easy to outplay. I just don't see her being very good. Chimera, fine, I guess. He got healing buffs. He's a little harder to kill now. Other than that, he's still Kai. He still jump ult people. Probably a little better late game because his healing is a little better. Probably a little better at brawling in that mid fight. But just fine. Again, not broken, right? A lot of the characters in this patch are broken. Kai's not broken. Kira, probably the best carry in the game, as far as I can tell. Seems pretty fucking nuts. You just run people down on this champ. Like, there's just, in team fights, you just insta-stack your passive, and then you have 15% bonus damage for the entire fight. You have dash reset, your dash gains distance. Really good kill secure with your Q. If you're building Vank, even if you're not building Vank, it's a good kill secure. It does a lot of damage. You just a pretty crazy carry. The amount of mobility she has really kind of carries her through fights, and it makes her really hard to lock down. Because you have to keep in mind, too, she's untargetable while she's in her dash. So some characters just lose because they can't hit her while she's dashing, like Sereth. Just can never kill Akira now. So, really good. Really good champ. Belica, I think she got slightly worse with the changes. Higher upside, harder to play. I'm going to put her in A+. I think she's like Gadget. One of the better mid laners, but I don't think she's blindable. I would put her in A, but I don't think she's... I think she's better than a lot of the other A tier. Well, no, I'll put her in A. I'll put her in A. I still think she's good. She's harder to play, but she has really high upside if you hit your abilities. Just harder to play. Doesn't have quite as much lane pressure as she used to have. Really good late game. Her stun's a little harder to use, but not really. I think she's fine. Origesh, pretty good. I don't think she's broken. I don't think she's S tier, but she's pretty good. Lots of healing, playable in the off lane. Technically playable in the jungle, though I don't think it's very good. In the mid lane, she just is kind of a menace. She just sits in the middle of a fight, and she's unkillable. She has so much healing. It doesn't really matter if you build anti-heal. Of course, still build anti-heal. Doesn't really die. Just so tanky, so much healing. Just walk around, you mark people. You still have a really good ultimate. You have some CC, some really reliable CC with your slow now on your Q. You're really tanky when you press E. You get damage mitt. Yeah. Seems like a really strong character. I still think she's more situational. I don't think you're blind picking Morigesh every game. But still seems pretty good. Murdoch seems like one of the better carries. I've seen a lot of success on Murdoch. His stim seems pretty nuts. The prot shred on his shotgun seems pretty nuts. Still just a really good ultimate, right? You can always just ult across the map and get value. Seems like a solid champ. Just a solid carry. Yo, Reaver with the 5-monther, man. Welcome back to the pin zone, dude. Appreciate it. Ult got nuked. Oh, are you guys talking about... I don't even know who you guys are talking about. We'll get to it. Muriel, one of the better supports, in my opinion. The change to her shields is, if you have a tanky frontline, Muriel is insane. Muriel is crazy if you have a tanky frontline. Playing Muriel with squishy teams is a little bit worse. It's still solid, but it's a little bit worse. But playing her with frontline just makes them unkillable. Like, the champ seems really good. You just have to, I don't know, she's a little more team comp dependent, but I do think she's quite good. Narbash, hard one to rank, really fun character, but I think he's broken. I feel like no. I feel like realistically, you can play him support, you can play him offlane. Are you realistically playing him in the jungle? Probably not. You can, and I don't think it's the worst thing you can do. He's fun to play, really, really fun to play. But I don't think he's, like, crazy cracked. His move speed's really good, but his healing is significantly worse. His ult is really good. Maybe he's approaching A+, but he's probably almost A+. FaZe, like, I don't think you're banning FaZe, dude. I don't think FaZe is S tier. I don't think you're banning FaZe, but really annoying character, unkillable. If you die on FaZe, you're probably bad at the video game. Really good, like, reliable crowd control with beam. Just insane movement with being able to flash everywhere. Crazy movement, really, really hard to pin down. The enemy's, like, if FaZe is on the enemy team, she's just always going to be alive, and that's just something you kind of have to deal with. So, good at keeping her carry alive. Has more counterplay, right? You can't pull CC'd allies anymore, so more counterplay to it now. But I still think she's really good. Rampage, the other just beyond Giga Broken champ in the game right now. Just the fact that you can have like 700 power on this character and have 7,000 HP is just insane. Just really shouldn't probably be in the game. You one-shot people building full tank, it doesn't matter. You go Overlord plus whatever other items you want as long as one of them's Aegis, and you just win the game. Champ is ridiculously tanky, super hard to kill, really good mobility, has better engage with rock jump now. His new passive is fucking crazy. You get CC'd, you heal a fuck ton. You gain some tenacity as well, so it's harder to perma CC this champ. Just insane. Just insane. Rev. Dude, I don't see it, man. Again, another champ that I've heard people saying, like, is good, does enough damage. I just don't see it. I don't, man. If 2 weeks from now Rev is the best character in the game, man, I'll eat my words, right? But I just don't see it. Even if he's good, he feels so atrocious to play. He feels so bad. Rev does do a lot of damage, but damage has never been his issue, dude. Like, he's always done a lot of damage. They just slowed down the kit a lot. They made it feel worse to play. You can't tower dive anymore, so it's harder to just bully enemy carries and make them go 0-10. His 1v1 is a lot worse, like, early game. Like, normally on Revenant, like, last patch, right, you get one item, you run down every carry in the game, you just walk at them and ult them and they die. Can't do that anymore. Late game, his damage is really good. I just think it's so hard to get there. His ability to bully lane has been essentially taken away. He is a late game character. That is all that he does. He has basically no lane presence at all. I just don't think he's that great. Richter. As a support, Richter's pretty bad. Like, probably C tier as a support. As a jungle offlane, I think he's fine. The buff to his E makes it really reliable to hit your entire E on people, like in offlane, to trade with your electrocute. It's pretty reliable, which is a lot of damage that you wouldn't get last patch. So in offlane, I think he's pretty solid. In the jungle, his clear's pretty good. The cooldown on your Q goes down now when you level it, so maxing Q in the jungle gives you pretty good clear. As a support, not having the shield actually just makes you get poked out on wave number 1, like, for free, and you can't do anything. I don't think he's great in support. But as a jungle offlane, I think he's A tier. I think he's solid. He's playable. Seraph. Got damage buffs. I don't think it matters a whole lot. I don't think this champ is great at the moment. You would think she'd be really good at killing bruisers, but I don't think she really is. And I think building bruiser on her is a lot harder than building bruiser on other champs. So I don't think she's great. But she's probably playable. She is still like a high risk, high reward character, right? Feast or famine. If you get ahead, you probably just win the game. If you don't, you probably just lose. But I think she's okay. Sev seems really good to me. The tanks, a lot of tanks seem pretty fucking good right now. Sev seems like the best. Just crazy. Like, the passive on this champ is insane. 20% magic armor shred in an aura is crazy. Half cooldown on your ult is crazy. Plus, it executes minions, so you can defend against prime waves, stuff like that. You have an extra damage ability now with your dash. His Q has max HP or bonus HP scaling on it. Just seems like a really good character. Sev jungle viable? Definitely. Definitely. In the jungle, I think you go Overlord first item. In the off lane, I think it's Cat Drive. If you're in a magical matchup, otherwise I think it's Overlord. I think Overlord's a really good item on him. His autos hit hard as fuck. You just get a billion HP on this champ. You can stack for the entire game. Just seems really good. Like, having a front line, like, I'll just do Steel right now. Steel's the same in my opinion. Having one of these two characters on your team, or Rampage for that matter, right? Steel, Sev, Rampage, even kind of Grux. Having one of these beefy frontliners on your team makes the game feel easy. It makes the way that you play team fights specifically in ranked and stuff, even to an extent in like PPL scrims, etc. Having a really strong front line, it lets you play front to back, and it makes the game easy. People understand how to play front to back. People in this game do not understand how to play dive. They do not understand how to play counter engage. They understand how to hit the tank in front of them. And if you have one of these tanks on your team, your tank is never dying first. If the enemy tank is like Grux or Terra or Boris or something like that, and you have Steel Sev, your tank is never dying first, which means you win playing front to back, which is what people understand. Both of these champs feel really good in the off lane. I think Sev jungle's pretty good. I think Steel jungle is a little worse, but it's better now because they buffed his right click so much. Steel just bullies lane. Sev doesn't really bully lane, but it's really hard to bully out of lane now, especially once he gets 40 stacks, once he gets the Omnivamp. Really hard to get him out of lane. These characters are... these tanks are just really, really good. Shinbi, I think, dude, I feel like, again, another character that on paper should be nuts. In practice, I think she's fine. I don't think she's insane. Again, on paper, her changes sound crazy. In practice, I think she's fine. I don't think she's cracked. I don't think she's super broken. I think she's playable. She still does a lot of the same job. She's just better in team fights. Probably playable in the mid lane, to be honest, into things like Gadget, even Morigesh, probably Bellica, probably playable in the mid lane. Your wave clear's a lot more reliable now. But just seems like fine. Faye, one of the other blindable mid laners, in my opinion. I know a lot of people are saying that, I've heard a lot of other mid laners saying that they don't think Faye is that good. They nerfed her ult. Her ult is worse. Her base kit is significantly better, in my opinion. The damage on your right click is it's making her right click do the same amount of damage with half a second less duration. Sounds like such a nothing burger change, but it makes it so consistent. It just does. It just does. And then her Q is a crazy ability. You're like kind of ungankable on this champ against a lot of junglers. Junglers without hard mobility just cannot gank Faye. And I think she's really good. Go Time Warp first item. Time Warp is cracked on Faye right now, so 100% you're going Time Warp first item. I don't know what else you would build. It's like Time Warp Megacosm. Feels really, really good. Highly recommended. But I do think Faye is still quite good. Even you have to aim her ult a little more. I've whiffed. I played Faye in scrims last night, and I might have whiffed 2 or 3 Faye ults. But just getting used to the way that the ult throws now. Wind Blast seems pretty good. I feel like he's pretty solid at the moment. Like, probably similar to Doc. I think he's a step above Drongo. Less utility, of course, than like Drongo or even Murdoch, but just very safe. Hard to gank. Has really good wave clear. Pretty good team fight. Has long enough range with his nades and his ult to where even if you like can't really walk into a fight, you can still do something. Seems like a pretty reliable hero right now. Xeris didn't really get changed. Still does the same job. Worse in the offlane, better in the jungle. His right-click range got reduced. His spear thrust got reduced range. So in the offlane, you don't get to permanently poke people out without taking poke. But in the jungle, that doesn't really matter. So in the jungle, still a good champ. Still a really good ultimate, of course. Has the damage reduction on his Q. The damage mitigation is more consistent. So I don't know. Seems like a good character still. You're playing for like counter engage. You can play him dive, but I think he's better played counter engage. But again, in ranked, people don't know how to do that. So it's one of those where like I do think the character's fine, but he's not Rampage. Sparrow, dude, this I think she's fine. I think she's fine. Her base kit is insane. Her base kit, QE right click, she has crazy fucking abilities. I think her ultimate is possibly the worst ability in the game. It is so bad. I do not know why you would ever click Sparrow ultimate. The only time you are ever clicking Sparrow ult is if you're hitting like 3 or more people with it. That is the only time you would ever click it. Her base kit is crazy. You run people down at level 2. You take Q level 1, you take E level 2, you run people down. She has a 40% slow. Her base kit is crazy. You perma win 2v2s in duo, especially pre-6. You win every 2v2 in the game. Dude, her ult is just horrible. Like, I wouldn't even put points into it. I would max my E before I ever put a point in my ult. But, seems solid. In conclusion, Wraith. This is a character, if you guys have been watching the stream today, I was very skeptical on Wraith upon reading his changes. I didn't think they really did anything. They lowered his cooldowns, but lowered his damage. After playing a couple Wraith games today, champ seems pretty good. Seems pretty good. I don't know if he's S tier. I don't know if he's broken. But, like, champ seems pretty good. Crazy range. Crazy range now. Still does a lot of damage. You always have cooldowns. Like, just building the normal Wraith items, I was getting, I mean, my mark was on a 4-second cooldown, and my snipe was on a 3-second cooldown. Like, your ult now marks people when they go back. So, like, on one item, I don't know how you lose a 1v1 if you run at the enemy mid laner. Playable in the carry role, crazy safe with how far away he can snipe now. Seems pretty good. I was very skeptical. Upon reading his changes, I was like, yeah, whatever, who cares? But after playing him for a couple games, feels pretty good to me. Iggy, unfortunately pretty good. Maybe here. Because I do think he's a little more matchup dependent, similar to Bellica. I do think he's very good, does a lot of damage, really good at getting objectives. His early game, his level 5, like before level 5, his early game is pretty weak. It's pretty bad. You're gonna be under tower at level 3, 4. But once you get past that point and you're able to clear waves, seems really good. Like his late game is insane. His turrets are crazy now. Seems like a pretty good champ, really boring to play, so I hate that they keep making him good. But I do think he's pretty good. Quang seems solid. I don't think he seems broken. His abilities are easier to hit, and his trade patterns in offlane are a little better because he gets attack speed from his passive. The buff to the range on his tether is really the main thing that makes him a little bit better. On top of his abilities getting bigger hitboxes, they're just a little easier to land. I think he's solid. I don't think he's insane. He wins some matchups in offlane that are important. Like, he's good. He's solid against Steel. He's solid against Grux. Those are good matchups to be able to win. Other than that, I think he's just okay. Argus. This one hurts, man. Pretty sure this is the worst champ in the game. Again, if 2 weeks from now, Argus is somehow the best mid laner the game's ever seen, dude, I'll eat my shorts. You know what I mean? But I just don't see it. I played him 2 or 3 times today. Tried the same build, the only build that would be possible to work on him right now. I just don't think it works. It's his cooldowns. Honestly, I don't care. His mana economy is horrible. The amount of mana that you burn on this champ is really bad. But if his cooldowns weren't atrocious, I think he'd be playable. The fact that they increased his Q cooldown is insane to me. It's just for reference, Argus Stun and Decker Ball, basically the same ability, right? They almost do the same amount of damage, by the way. Argus Stun is a 17-second cooldown at all ranks. The entire game, 17-second cooldown. Decker Stun, max rank, 12-second cooldown. I don't know, man. It just doesn't make sense to me. he does a lot of damage. Don't think it matters. Your cooldowns are too long. You burn through mana too fast. You're never full mana. You'd never have mana at the end of a fight. So even if you win a fight, you have to base before you can do an objective. It just does not feel good. Yo, Alt and Silence, thank you guys both for the tier 1s, man. Welcome both of you guys to the pin zone. Appreciate it, guys. Grim seems pretty good. Like, one of the better champs. One of the better carries. Like, maybe S tier. Seems really good. Still pretty safe with your bubble. Pretty good wave clear with your E. They changed this champ, so if you guys have only read patch notes, the patch notes on this character were not correct. The way that his E works is that in normal stance, without your E toggled on, your auto attacks give you attack speed. When you hit autos, you gain attack speed in normal stance. And his attack range is always the same. He has the extended attack range that everyone got. In the patch notes, I think it said that his normal range was supposed to be 1300, and then when you activate your E, he's supposed to get 1500. That is not the case. He's normal range all the time. His attack speed's pretty nuts. Seems like a really good hyper carry kind of champ. He's similar to Jinx from League of Legends. Not quite all the way there, but similar. And I think he's pretty good. Like, just a good hyper carry. You get to the mid game, you get 3-4 items online, you start really pumping damage out. Aurora, reliable. Aurora really is just like the definition of all reliable at this point. Does the same job she did last patch. Flash ult is much better now, but I don't think that really gives her enough to be broken. The higher rank you are, the better I think Aurora is. If you use your walls properly and your team can capitalize off of them, she's obviously a pretty nuts character. Wall is one of the best abilities in the game. Her lane clear is really good. You full clear waves like level 6. It's kind of crazy. Her 1v1 is really good. She wins a lot of 1v1s like against Grux that she didn't win before. But I don't know. She's fine. I don't think you're solo carrying the game on Aurora most of the time. She's really annoying. She's hard to kill. But she's just kind of unreliable. Terra, fine. She got some damage buff. She wins the matchups she's supposed to win. I don't know. She's basically the same. Her ult is really crazy now. She gets CC immunity for like 10 seconds at level 16, which is kind of nuts. But I don't think she's insane. You know? Like, everything else is kind of insane. She's good against tanks. She's really good against characters like Sevarog, right? But I don't think she's, like, super, super stupid. I think she's just fine. They buffed her damage a little bit. That's pretty epic. Zinx. I don't know. Jam seems fine. They buffed her healing a little bit, and then her E is a lob now. Like, sure. I don't know. She still zings. Having a res is a really impactful ability, but I don't think she's like broken. She's fine. Very pickable. Yin. Yin is matchup dependent, but I think most of the time her good matchups are playable right now. Really good against tanks, like really good against Steel Sev, pretty good against Rampage, right? Grux even. She's good against these champs. But I don't think she's crazy. She's fine. She's very pickable. Like a very, very pickable champ. Yeah. Skylar. Same thing, to be honest. Very pickable, but like not insane. I think she's fine. The slow on her Q is pretty insane, but the rest of her kit is just fine. Like, she's not pumping out the same kind of damage that, like, Akira does. She doesn't have that same mobility. Same with, like, Grim. Grim just does more damage. As carry, like, the amount of damage that you do is kind of, like, what your champ is supposed to do. So, like, when another character just does more damage, it's kind of hard to compete. Skylar has, like, a niche where she's really good against tanks. Like, anything with a big hitbox that you get beam value off of, she's really good against. But outside of that, I think she's okay. She has, like, okay wave pressure after, like, level 6, 7. Her wave pressure picks up a little with her passive, but I don't think she's too nuts. Ornn. I don't know, man. I think this is like the worst tank. Put him in B tier. I think he's a worse version of Richter. His ult is really good. His mez is a pretty cool ability. I think he's just a worse version of Richter. Like, if I wanted a tank that was really slow and had a hook and had a giant hitbox, I would pick Richter. I just don't know. Like, this champ didn't get any +1s going into this patch, and I think he probably needed one. I think he's fine. He's a tank. He's a tank that you would only pick if Steel, Sev, and Richter and Rampage were banned. I don't like. I don't know. I don't know why else you'd pick him. Boris, pretty good. Not broken. The fact that Boris isn't the best character in this patch is kind of crazy to me, because on paper his kit's super, super crazy. Really hard to play in team fights. Really good early game. Really, really crazy gank potential on this champ. You just sniff someone, you run at them, they die. Really good right click. His fear is a really good ability. In team fights, character gets hard to play. Gets very difficult to play, because it's just one of those champs where it's like, you want to, it's kind of like Fang Mao now. You want to have a 1v1, but Boris is also, like, generally speaking, you're building kind of bruiser on this champ. So, like, you need to be in the fight, because your HP bar matters, and you have damage mitt on your E, which is really good. Your E is his fear is a crazy ability. 40% damage mitt for like 2 seconds and a fear on top of it is crazy. It's just a better version of Xera's Q, really. But like, that's a really good ability. Your dash is a really good ability. Procs on hits. Your ultimate's really good. You can either put a tank into their team to do damage, or you can pull someone out of their team to try and insta-kill. Seems pretty solid to me. Just hard to play in team fights. Haven't seen a lot of people that, like, pilot Boris really well in team fights. I think he's really hard to play in team fights. So once people start to figure that out, I would imagine that he gets better. But I don't think he's as broken as characters like Countess and Ramp. Boris struggles into Gadget. I mean, I feel like anything that wants to be on top of Gadget struggles into Gadget. That's what the character does. There's really good self-peel. Her self-peel got considerably better this patch. Let's see. Is there anything that I would like to move on the tier list? I don't know. What would I move? Maybe move, like, maybe, like, here, like, to A. I'd maybe move Faye here. Yeah, I don't know. Skylar up? No, definitely not. Move Kalari up, TBH. Kalari, dude, I said the same thing about Kalari and Rev. I said, I truly don't see it, man. I truly don't see these champs being that good. If in 2 weeks, any of these, like, 4 champs are somehow cracked in 2 weeks, dude, I'll drink some pilk. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just don't see it, man. I don't. Yeah, I just don't see him being good. Like, Zinx maybe moves down. She's maybe, like, more situational of the supports, but, like, I think this is fine. I think this is fine. I think it looks good. Again, the game is pretty balanced. Like, relatively speaking. Everything's broken, right? Everything's broken. But when everything's broken, nothing's broken, right? So there are a couple of outliers, right? Like, these, like, Countess, Rampage are significant outliers in my opinion. They are significant outliers. And then characters like Argus, Greystone, Kalari, Rev, I think these are also significant outliers. Like, the difference between, like, I mean, maybe B tier, these characters are kind of bad, but, like, A tier and, like, A plus, like these are pretty close. Like, I think a lot of, like, pretty much all of these characters are, like, you could pick them every game, right? Maybe some of these, like, maybe, like, Aurora, Terra, you're trying to play mostly into their good matchups when they feel better, right? These S tier characters, you could blind pick every game and you'd pretty much be okay. But, like, the game is pretty close as far as balance is concerned. It's just, like this is where I would put everyone at.